Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today in very uncharacteristic fashion, we're gonna be talking about a Marvel movie. We're gonna be talking about Captain America: Civil War, which I recommended because I thought I wouldn't like it. But I did. And what about you, Evan? What did you think of Captain America: Civil War after so many years?
I mean, one of the biggest things that stood out to me was the retrospectively to the entire MCU, like looking forward at what this movie does
Mm,
because it's so funny that this movie's titled Captain America Civil War. It's one of the common criticisms. I'm like, this is kind of an in-between Avengers movie. It
yeah.
feels like half an Avengers movie. That's largely focused on Iron Man and Captain America, but it
I mean, that was
it
one of the
doesn't really
things I was
commit.
thinking when I was watching, where it's just like Tony for me is like probably the best character in the movie, and he has so much
Yeah,
screen time.
the two of them do get
Yeah,
the most, and they do have separate arcs. But this is the thing about like Steve Rogers as a character is he's a largely static character because he has consistent principles and they don't usually change. He's challenged by the situation usually rather than his own personal conflicts.
hmm,
Tony's the one who changes more as a character, movie to movie, and this movie is like meant to be the guilt phase, but I felt this film very stretched thin. Like retrospectively, and we'll get to how it fits to the wider MCU, but if I were to nail down something that I think is problematic, it's that there's a lot of characters in this film. I mean, a lot of the subsequent Avengers films are struggling with this as well, like the abundance of characters, for the love of God, Doomsday, the cast is insane. It's hard to balance that many characters, even with a movie that's almost 3 hours. I think this movie handles it pretty well because, for the most part, the cast is pretty grounded.
hmm. And
And
I think it makes some sense because everyone has been pretty well established. I think one of the problems a lot of people have with Doomsday is just a lack of an understanding of who the Avengers are by that point. But like
I,
this coming off of Age of Ultron, I think it like flows fairly naturally. And it's interesting because obviously in Age of
well,
Ultron, everything was Tony's fault basically. So it's kind of it is interesting to explore the consequences of that when like the usual Marvel movie is just gonna like gloss over it.
I do find it funny that they always just refer to Sokovia and they blame the Avengers and they're like the Avengers like this was all Ultron. I'm like, but Tony created Ultron. I'm like, yeah, but they they act like they caused it. I'm like, they didn't. They did the fucking best they could. It was bad situation, but I'm like, that was Ultron that did that. But
I mean, yeah,
so
but like in Age of Ultron, they make a very big point of like not doing this, or like how dangerous it will be, and Tony doing it behind the Avengers' backs because he wants to, because he knows they wouldn't approve, and like most of the characters in that movie don't approve. So it's like a whole thing of like they could have just not done this. Like they thought it was a bad idea. Tony was the only one who had this obsession with like creating the suit of armor, which is very in character for him. Like I understand why he did that in Age of Ultron. So I don't know. I completely understand them being like it is your fault, and especially Tony because like they treat it as like, oh yeah, it's our fault, but it's mostly Tony that is like, we did this because he's the responsible one, and he carries a lot of guilt and has carried since his
yeah,
first film. More so than like Captain America, who's just like he says like sometimes you can't save everybody, but you don't give up, which is like a very different outlook from Tony, who wants to save everyone.
yeah, and by the way, a criticism that I've heard with this film is that like he's shown one picture and like one victim confronts him and it changes his entire worldview. I disagree with that. For one, I think he probably would have backed the Accords regardless of
Yeah,
that. I think that just is just the most recent tipping point for him or something that he looks into and brings up. But
yeah.
yeah, character.
I think it's it's paired with Pepper leaving him, right? Because like it's right as she leaves him, like they didn't even have time to change the teleprompter. So like that is also a thing
Yeah,
where it's like
well,
he never stopped being Iron Man, and he knows the consequences of that have been causing like more issues, like with Ultron. Like Ultron, he caused because he
I
wouldn't
will
stop, which came off of
I will
Iron Man 3.
yeah, I will say it is really funny how this film I always laughed at event I really don't like Age of Ultron, by the way. I only saw it the one time in theaters. I
I love
That
that
movie
film.
did not work for me. One of the things that I really do not like, that I love about Civil War, is everyone's just all together, like the gang's just together. It's like, wait a minute, like Tony blew up all of his suits, like Thor's in London. It's like they're all together. I'm like, what? When did that happen? And I'm like, this is what I like about this film is that Hulk and Thor are gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons why is they want to ground people, even though you have Vision, like and
Yeah.
Vision's a little problematic power wise, but it's yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's kind of interesting, but it's the whole thing I think of like the ending of the first Avengers is like they'll come when they're needed, and so obviously when they are needed to take down the remnants
yeah,
of Hydra, they would come. I don't mind that too much.
it works well enough. But well, what I was going, the point I was making was that this film addresses Iron Man 3 and Pepper because the whole thing at the end of that movie is that he did it for Pepper, and then she's not in this movie. I'm not sure why. It might have been for like just scheduling reasons, but they say they're taking a break and
Yeah.
then they get back together in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the
Sort of,
things where the Homecoming just kind of like, well, I guess that's that then.
yeah,
It would have been interesting if we
yeah,
saw
it's
like an actual scene between them discuss, because Civil War treats it
yeah.
very maturely of just like she says, it's a break, and he's clearly like upset about it, but he completely understands her, but he can't stop being Iron Man. Like all of that is very interesting and complex character work, which is just like not
Well,
present in Homecoming.
yeah. So this movie, I have the scene open now, but I love that the dialogue with Tony and Steve with the pens.
Hmm.
It's great. But this film, one of the best services and disservices to it is the pacing.
Hmm.
It's too like I think it's yeah, it's just under 2.5 hours long, and it just keeps moving and
Yeah.
moving. It has very engaging like fight scenes through and through, and
Except I
the
think
dialogue.
for the airport scene.
Yeah, well, that is pretty elongated.
Well,
It's a
there is the
we'll
whole
get
thing is right because we were talking about it. Just before we started recording, we were talking about this film and how it actually feels like an actual film. Um, which is like a very
well,
funny way to praise it, but it does,
yeah.
and it
So
feels that way for me until the airport fight scene, because that scene it just feels like because like it looks awful, like it just straight up looks like yeah pure shit. Um,
Well, it's very like concretey.
yeah,
That's what, and a lot of people have criticized that scene as paving the way for the modern MCU, and even you
yeah,
could even say just the streaming look. The problem is it's just a really boring set piece because
yeah.
obviously the
Well,
ground's going to
it's
be
just a bunch
concrete,
of
but
toys
it's
being
an
like smushed
overcast.
together. It's not really like an actual scene, you know.
No, it would have been even having like a building on fire or like maybe it raining or something
Uh,
like that. Something to add a little bit of flair to make it stand out
Yeah.
visually
Well,
and
it's just
add a
one of
little
those things
something to
because, like you
see.
said, rain, and it just reminds me of that whole like third act fight scene in Blade Runner 2049, where it's just like
Yeah.
one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. It's just two people fighting like fist to
Yeah, but
fist,
the
but the
music and
music and the
the
visuals, because
frame,
there's
yeah.
the water from the sea, and there's the fucking rain, like all of it looks amazing. But in this, it's just like boring, like middle of the day, like kind of cloudy, so there's not many sharp
It's
lights because obviously
overcast.
it looks easier to it makes it easier to do the CGI if it's soft lighting and everything. It's like all of it just feels like, and then there's the whole thing of like how the characters act, which is so weird because it's like the scene where like Vision
it's
does the like the line on the ground, and like this feels like when you're putting like a group of heroes on one side and the group of heroes on the other side, and you're gonna just like push them together. They're like toys, you know, like I'm gonna this hero is gonna fight this hero because it's like
well,
why is there a line delineating where they're gonna stand? It just feels so funny.
Well, to me, what it reminded me of tonally was The Princess Bride, like the sword fight between Inigo and Wesley.
Hmm.
Like this, it feels like a bar fight more than anything. And you know, this they say they're pulling their punches, but this, it's I. You know, this was incredible to see in theaters, just like Endgame was incredible to
Yeah.
see in theaters the first time. But it's this was the first film to have the characters fighting each other, where like the Avengers was the first time like we had a team up movie. This is the first time there was like internal conflict between the group.
Hmm.
But looking back at this fight, it's just what is the point of it? It's just like you said, it's action figures fighting each other.
Yeah.
It's just a big fight with a bunch of cool things happening. You know, for instance, like Giant Man. That was surprising to see in theaters. And I remember
Yeah.
being like, "Oh my God, are they
Well,
gonna do
it's
it?" I'm
kind
like,
of the
"Yeah."
only
I,
thing. Ant-Man is kind of the only thing in that scene making it keeping it from being completely boring, I think. Because if you think about it, imagine Ant-Man wasn't in this film, and it's just like people not really with powers, everyone's pulling their punches because they don't want to kill each other. And nobody using their powers like interestingly, because it reminded me, like you said, of people these characters fighting each other. It reminded me of when Thor first shows up in Avengers 2012, right? And he fights Iron Man, and it's
yeah,
just like a really interesting and well done
that
set
was a
piece of like fighting, and then there's a fucking using the lightning and that charges up Tony's suit. It's like power at 300%. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. You know, like
that
you
that
really,
was a brief glimpse of what this movie like had to offer and like
yeah,
could have had more effectively. But yeah, the that's such a well thought out set piece in a fight between two people. You don't
yeah.
get that as much. You don't. That's the thing about the action sequences. They're not usually the superheroes fighting each other. They're
Hmm.
usually just other fights, external conflict, and
And it's the whole
uh,
thing of like I've thought
the
like I know that it's like what the movie was sold on is the airport fight scene because it's, you know, the heroes fighting each
yeah.
other, but the scene of Tony fighting Cap is so
That's
much better, like a
well,
billion
it's
times
the
better.
I think one of the things that's a saving grace to the air because I mentioned the tone of the airport fight,
Hmm.
but they make up for it in the third act because there's no jokes, no
Yeah,
quipping, nothing. The tone
they take it
is on
completely
point in
seriously.
the
Yeah,
third. Yeah. So, and that is the fight that has the real stakes to
yeah.
it and is meant to be the climax of the film.
Yeah. So
But
the more I think about it, the more I think
something
like they could have just like gotten on the Quinjet and gone to Siberia and skipped the airport fight, and the film probably would have been better for it.
there's a couple of different ways you could have engineered the third act, but I'm one of the key aspects that stood out to me was I did not feel that sense of loss of this movie or even just because the Sokovia Accords, like we can maybe get into more detail about that, but this is supposed to be the Civil War, like characters fighting each other, and no one dies.
Hmm.
The only
Yeah, the
thing
big thing is
is
Rhodey. Yeah,
Rhodey. But that's the thing. Just looking back, they should have killed him.
they should have.
Because
Yeah.
what have they done with Rhodey? And furthermore, not just that, I do find it hard to buy Tony just going full animal mode at the end. I think if Rhodey had died, that would have been a little easier to buy. I think you could have built to that better. But without any substantive loss, this is a problem just with the MCU in general. They don't often commit to killing characters. So many characters come back, and because you know who's the big loss of Avengers 2012? It's Phil Coulson, but it's like, well, he's in Agents of Shield, so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a whole thing of that. I would defend that creative
Yeah,
choice
yeah.
forever. You know that.
It's Yeah, and it's defendable. It does. I don't think it even ruins the movies because it's never addressed in the films at all.
Mm.
So I think that
Yeah, I mean,
helps.
Coulson
It's like
says in the show,
Daredevil.
like, I would like it if you
Um,
if you didn't tell Tony about this. I wanted to tell him myself. He says, yeah.
yeah, I just I don't know. It's a
I
like
think
so
one of
I
the
was
things that
mentioning
probably would have
retrospect.
helped is if, like, instead of that ending where Cap is like, "I'll always be here," this like kind of triumphant, like bittersweet thing, if it was just like completely like just a tense, sad ending, and just seeing Tony
Well,
being pensive or something like that, instead of like actually trying to like be like, ah, see, but they're gonna team up again if they're ever needed. And I think especially would have hit harder in Infinity War, but I don't know.
yeah, I do like the phone. I Infinity War committed to the full out non-happy ending where the
Yeah,
heroes straight up lose. It's one of its best traits, but the I do like that it sets up the phone that and he has that on his person seemingly at all times in Infinity War because it's right there when Steve is brought up. So, and of course that leads to them coming back to save Wanda and Vision. So I I don't know. And some of this carries over to Infinity War and Endgame because Tony and Steve their whole conflict it was resolved way too fast. They just kind of kiss and make up and it's like come on you needed more, you needed material between these two. There's such a rift that you established and
I mean, it's
it
great in the
faded.
first act of
So
Endgame, but then it's just like they're like, oh yeah, I guess we're chill.
there's like one scene oh my god, fucking Endgame. So let's talk a little bit about the ending fight with Tony
Mhm.
because a lot of people cry foul and I'm somewhat of that. My biggest thing is I feel like basic communication could just throw. Because I don't know, man. I have trouble buying that. Because Tony, it's the whole thing of like Tony. Well, Tony's impulsive. Tony's a very emotional character. He's done a lot of like crazy shit. Like he got like drunk and shit faced at the party in Iron Man 2, right? Of like and fought Rhodey. I'm like, yeah, but
I mean, that was like
it's like
completely
his
like
mom died and
self-destructive and everything. He's supposed to learn from that by the end of Iron Man 2 as well. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. It's supposed to. It's Tony's been through a lot and has changed in these
mhm.
movies, and I do find it hard to believe that he couldn't be talked down. In fact, it might have worked better that way.
Well, it's the whole thing, like you said, if
That
Rhodey had died, I think by that point it'd be like he has more of a
well,
reason because it's like, yeah, he was being mind controlled, but my friend died because of you, so it's like he has actually more of a reason to fight. Just the whole thing of like, oh, you killed my mom, yeah, but I was being mind controlled by fucking Hydra. It's like I don't care. You would care though, like at least a little. I don't think he would
yeah,
go after like berserk like that. Um,
yeah. I don't know. And there's so little dialogue too.
yeah.
What lines are there hit all right, but
Yeah.
Bucky could have done better to fucking defend himself. I guess he just is trying to
No, I
run, but
mean, I think the
the
difference is
fight it
Bucky doesn't want to defend himself because he feels the guilt of all of it. So he thinks he kind of deserves
kind
it,
of,
which
yeah.
I think is an
It
interesting part of his character that's kind of, abandoned later on in the MCU.
well, for the love of God, Bucky got the shaft as a character. He's just moody. He's just always like a sad, quiet, just long hair and frown all the time. It's like, God damn it, you
Mm,
could do so much more with this character. And he's just relegated to Steve's friend largely,
yeah.
and I don't know. So,
Yeah, and Thunderbolts, he
um,
becomes the new Nick Fury. It's infuriating.
okay. Um, so here's something I also want to bring up is Zemo and Zemo's plan. Something I think two films that I find highly comparable to this film are The Dark Knight and Skyfall.
Hmm.
They're both about 2.5 hours long. They're both really well paced with lots of action sequences, like standout action like sequences sprinkled throughout.
Hmm.
And they also have a villain who's basically a lone wolf with seemingly inexplicable resources manipulates the characters like chess pieces into specific ways. But the more you start thinking about their plan, you're like, wait a minute, like how did and shit starts to unravel. But the film is so goddamn well paced that it almost doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it flows so well, like a comic book in large part.
Well,
You know, their comic books are
I
very
think the
well
only
paced
moment
and
that took me
just
out in this film is like how he got in to become to be the new like in place of the psychologist there, who was gonna talk to
it's
Bucky.
really hard to
Yeah,
believe that of all the things, how did he get in there? How did he like?
yeah. It's like he faked a security badge. It's like the thing of like you could have solved it by doing some like very chill like throwaway scene, throwaway
Mask? I mean,
line or
like
something. If he has the
he
mask
seemed,
thing as well, but I don't.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you could have
I
just
don't.
done the thing of like doing the mask, which is also would have helped. Like they could have done that, like solved it easily, but I think it would have probably made the pacing worse. So I don't know if I mind it too much because I'm like, oh, well,
That's
if we show something of like how he got inside, either before, which is like, the reveal that it's Zemo there
well.
in the room is gonna be lessened, and if we do it later, then we're just like explaining what happened before, which is gonna like hurt the pacing. So I kind of get it.
That's the double-edged sword about those types of villains. You want their plans to be surprising and them to
Yeah.
have these like really insane moments where they're like 5 steps ahead of the
Yeah.
hero. It's like how could they done this? They're just one fucking guy, but I because of that, you kind of need to not explain their plans all
Yeah.
that much. So Zemo, some shit starts to fall apart, and it's the fact that it's what he's ex-Sokovian special forces that's supposed to kind of hand wave away some of it a little bit. It helps, but and I do like Zemo as a character. It's that a lot of people. It's funny that he's named Zemo when the character shares very little with in common with the comic character, but it's interesting that he's just basically someone who had a family who's a victim of
Yeah.
just what he sees as the Avengers' crime, who has a vendetta against them. It's one of the more interesting character-based villains in the
Yeah.
MCU. It's and very just a human. There's no superpowers, there's no magic technology. Well, discounting all the insane shit that he pulls off infiltration-wise, but he's a very grounded villain, and the ending with T'Challa and him, that shit is
Phenomenal. I was
nailed.
about to
And
mention it because I think we
Chadwick.
both agree that like Black Panther is a really really cool in this film. Like he's really good.
This is a better Black Panther movie than Black Panther. It's just a straight up revenge arc.
Yeah.
The guy killed his dad and he wants revenge.
It's
And
so
that's what he
funny because
says at
he
the
he
end of the
cares
movie. I almost
he
killed the
cares
wrong
about
man.
nothing else. Like he joins and helps the Tony side not because of
No.
like wanting to do the right thing. It's just he wants to get Bucky, which is like why his part in the plot is so much more interesting than like most of the other
Yeah,
characters.
because
Like why is Wanda
it's
there? Like I don't know. Like Wanda, of course, she
it's
causes all of it, but
always
like a lot of the other characters, like Rhodey or whatnot, it's just like they're kind of there. Hawkeye, like Hawkeye's just there.
yeah, he
Ant
kind of just
Man,
I mean, even Tony brings it up. He's like, "Why didn't you think of your family?" And he could have just like dad and dad. It's like, yeah, but why didn't you just stay at your farm? Like,
yeah,
I, you're that loyal to Steve? It's like, okay, but I've always seen Rhodey as like staying because he's a soldier. But
yeah,
it is interesting when you get a character like that that just joins because they're after something. They're
yeah.
after like revenge or they're after a fight or it. Oh. And my God, Chadwick is amazing. Rest in peace. Gone too soon. My God, they could have done so much more with this character, and this film just sets up a world of potential.
Yeah.
Brilliantly cast, and man, the costume is a banger. Like,
It is.
by the way, I think this might be the best costume design of the MCU. It is the more grounded of the superhero cast, but I say 10 out of 10, Captain America suit and Black Panther suit, and it's up there with some of the Iron Man suits.
Yeah, I mean,
Say
I
like
love
Iron
the
Man
Iron Man
2.
suits, especially Iron Man 2. I think it has the coolest suit in the MCU.
2 did pretty 2 is at a really good stage for
Yeah.
CGI in the
Well,
MCU. They
the
were
the best thing
yeah.
was to use so much practical shit. Like they built the actual suit. It's crazy. Like, it's great. I miss when they did that and it was just nanotech.
Nanotech and just CGIing over a fucking face. So, yeah. This film is so weird where so just to touch on the Sokovia Accords,
Hmm.
because something this film is trying to do is bring together the idea of like accountability
Yeah.
and past actions and regulating the Avengers, but none of that shit really gets brought up or matters. And then there's just a throwaway line in She-Hulk, from what I understand, that just says they repealed them. And it's just not a thing anymore. It's like, okay, it reminds me a little of like what they do in The Incredibles with the superhero relocation program or
Kinda,
whatever,
yeah.
but that actually ties in. You know, Incredibles 2 doesn't handle that all that well. And you know, Watchmen also deals with this kind of a thing. You know, X-Men, there's so many that deal with the idea of superheroes needing to be kept in check or being under some sort of government supervision. But they, you know, the Avengers just have their compound and just do Avengers things and stuff. And who, again, who even are the Avengers now? This
Yeah. I mean,
film
the world
is
building
trying to,
since this film has been awful.
yeah, this film sets up a lot. Yeah, it's not to be blamed for what they did with it subsequently, but the the attempts at adding some layer of grounding the Avengers is, I think, handled what, because one of the best things, again, no Hulk, no Thor, no one. So Vision is a little OP. Maybe he should have been written out somehow. I don't know how. I don't know what he'd be doing, but whatever. And then Wanda, who could be said to be pulling her punches, but she also has like trouble controlling her powers, or I'd imagine like subsequent to brainwashing, maybe you could say. One way or another, these characters are not mountain movers. They're pretty, save for maybe Iron Man. They're all pretty, you know, street level fighters. So kind of person who could punch a car like 30 feet away, but again, not like lift a building. But and I like that about it. I like that about Winter Soldier as well. They feel pretty down to earth, and we were just mentioning how this film is shot really well, and the sets feel practical and in camera. The green screen doesn't feel as noticeable, but it's just, I don't know. It's a great action movie, I'd
Mm.
say. It's solid, just
It's a solid
superhero
thriller
action
that just
film,
has
but
like a scene of toys being like, thrown together in the middle of it. If you remove that scene, everything just works so much better. But
yeah,
it's like
I at the
genuinely
same
just I
time.
like because like the thing is, right. I recommended this film because from what I remembered, I didn't like it that much because I had like a big issue with the whole like he was my friend, or so was I, and it's still a line that I don't like. But I don't think
It's
it's as big of a problem because I think everything else kind of works without that line. Like I think Tony's like feeling of betrayal and everything, like it all I think makes enough sense. Where if you remove that line, it would have been fine. It's just one line where I'm like, I don't think they are friends, Tony and Cap. I never thought they were friends before this. Like they were co-workers.
coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But other
I don't
than
know.
that, it's like I don't find it as big of an issue as I did before. I thought the whole movie like kind of hinged on it, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So it was a movie I was just watching like, damn, I'm entertained. I think this is like well made. It feels like an actual film. Um, with actual sets and like you said, the fucking I don't know if we said this before the recording, but the whole chase scene in Romania is like it goes
Yeah,
from like three different locations and there's a fucking car chase in the middle and they're running in the middle of the avenue and he catches a fucking motorcycle like as it
yeah.
runs and jumps on
It's
it. It's like it's so fucking awesome and it's like and it
it's the
looks
kind
real.
of
It looks like it's
it's the
actually happening.
it's the kind of action that I love when you have you have a fight or a chase that leads to different unique
Yeah.
locations. It's one of the best ways to make action stand out because you have a fight in the apartment that leads to the stairwell, jumps to the rooftop, and then right on the rooftop, Black Panther.
Yeah.
Fight and then jump off the roof, chase
Running in the
down
middle of the street,
on,
gets in
on the
car,
highway.
and then
And
there's Falcon
what's so
flying, and
cool,
then he gets on a
yeah,
fucking motorcycle. It's like it's always moving, and
that
it's always something new and exciting happening. It's so cool.
yeah, again, just brilliant pacing. And one of the coolest parts about that chase is that it's on a highway, but the characters can run as
As fast
fast
as
as the
cars.
cars.
I
All of them,
love that.
all
Like
of
the
them,
shot of
yeah,
them
all,
running with the cars, and like they do it handheld too to like ground you with the action. It's
yeah,
really cool. Like in an MCU movie nowadays, they wouldn't do that shot handheld. They would probably just have like
yeah,
a sweeping like drone shot, which wouldn't even be an actual drone shot because everything would be CGI. You know?
yeah. This just there's a sense of authenticity because the thing is, I didn't rewatch Winter Soldier before this, but I've rewatched it a ton. I barely needed to rewatch this movie because I watched these movies a bunch when I was
Hmm.
growing up. But Winter Soldier has remained my favorite MCU movie.
Hmm.
And the reason why I would say that I prefer it to this film is that there's fewer characters and it's more focused. It's more focused on Captain America. It's
Yeah,
definitely a Captain
absolutely,
America movie.
absolutely.
Black Widow's in it, and so is Falcon. And I remember before, I'm like, that's always troublesome when you start adding a lot of heroes or
Hmm.
a lot of villains in a story. Things can get dicey, but
But they do it well, and
I
I mean, Black Widow
very
is
well. And
actually like a really good character in Winter Soldier.
yeah, and furthermore, what I love about the Russo brothers, the first two of their movies, the Captain America, is that they're thrillers. They're just action thrillers that
Hmm.
have really standout fight scenes where because that entire freeway fight in Winter Soldier, I just love it where it's just when Bucky and Steve start like throwing hands and he doesn't because he's still masked up and the punches because it's like I said, not the type of punches that's gonna destroy an entire building, but they're they feel superhuman.
Hmm.
The
I
hits
mean,
feel superhuman, and that's
the whole scene with them like catching the fucking helicopter is fucking awesome. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, that's something that this movie nails as well, is that it does so like I was mentioning no one dies and there isn't, too big of a loss, but still the punches and the hits they feel barring the airport fight,
yeah.
they do feel impactful. They do feel like actual fights and there's actual
I mean,
stakes to
it's
the
the whole thing
action.
where
So,
Cap is hitting Tony with the shield at the
yeah,
end. You're like, holy
wi-
shit, is he gonna kill him? And then he hits the chest
the,
piece. You're like, oh. But like, there's that moment where you're like, you actually believe it because he's breaking apart his fucking uh his
yeah,
fucking
and
suit. And I
blood
mean, there's
is
the earlier in that scene where he blows away Bucky's arm. It's like, holy shit. It's big. Everything that's happening in that scene feels big.
yeah, but that's the thing though, because I laughed at the arm because it's just like, well, you could just get a new one. It's like, well, he's had that but it's like he just gets a new one. It's like, well, yeah, but it's like it's not like his other arm gets blown off, like almost like Anakin but
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, but like in the sense of the fight scene, it is significant. But
true.
obviously, you could just get another one. Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
would have
that's
been
what I was
interesting if
saying.
there were like limitations and they could have just remake another one because it's like long lost Hydra technology, and so he gets like a new, worse prosthetic arm, and he can't do things as well as before. But that would have been requiring them to make Bucky an actual character after this film.
Yeah. Not like they didn't have a TV show to deal with all that,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
instead they just had the entire thing being about what it means to be
Captain
Captain America.
America.
Fucking hate that. Dude, that show, by the way, I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with Civil War, but fuck Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They could have done.
They
It's so.
ruined Captain Falcon as Captain America like
It's
completely.
so
Like they had the
pretend.
perfect opportunity, just make a Captain America film starring Sam Wilson. But no, they needed to
Yeah.
make a
It's
show
so
about how he doesn't
pretentious.
want to be Captain America because the burden is so. It's like no.
What's it? This is yeah. This is the thing as well. So like this, 'cause this ties into Winter Soldier, and ironically, you were mentioning before in the last episode that it's that the first movie gets overlooked because you know
Yeah.
it for Phase One MCU and one of the earlier films, and it
It's
takes
a
place in a
very
different
standard
time
film. It
period.
has nothing like going like, whoa, that's amazing. But
But
it's just a really well made film, the first Avenger.
yeah, I mean that's what all the movies were. You know, like Thor, all you know, they were just well made, well put together films. So yeah. Um oh God, what was I mentioning before? The
The first
invisibility and
Avenger. That's what we're talking about.
oh, well yeah, just the and I did mention it briefly, but I Steve Rogers is my favorite character in the MCU, and it's
Hmm.
I think one of the reasons why I've lost investment in the modern MCU is that his character has essentially been killed off. I don't even think it's been said that he's dead, but he's just kind of gone,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
made a
just like,
mold, and they never
yeah,
confirmed whether or not he was dead, which is
I,
smart from
I
Marvel because they're
don't.
like, well, if you wanted to bring him back, we could
But for Christ's sake, like
as like a mentor figure.
he looked, yeah, he looked like 100. I mean, well, they already had a trailer for Doomsday, so
I mean, yeah,
God,
he's gonna be in
I,
Doomsday. We all know.
I, yeah, I don't know. So regardless, um, the I Steve Rogers' character is like largely static, but what I find so interesting about the latter two, like the sequels, is that the challenges come from the world and the
Yeah.
world changing because he grew up and like he lived during World War II, and that's the world that he knew. But
Mm.
he does still kind of look at that world with rose-tinted glasses, you know? And that's what's subsequently realized, and that's what he tells Nick Fury instead of the Avengers. I was wrong. The world hasn't changed at all,
Hmm.
and that's what I think is so perfect about the twist in Captain America: The Winter Soldier being that it's Hydra,
Hmm.
that
That it
all
is the same
along
thing that he
in
was fighting in the 1940s. Yeah. It's the same villain,
yeah,
the same shit is
it's
still going
been
down. And it's part of the organizations that he
what
was defending. So it's like, yeah,
yeah, and that Peggy helped build. It was all
yeah.
under all of their noses, Howard included, and it they committed to that. So there's problems with how that it was handled at the wider MCU, but like Agents of Shield obviously addresses it like head on.
Beautifully, yeah.
But yeah, it's so well put together and engineered, and it's the brilliant villain and the brilliant conflict for that film. And this film is similar where he's put to the wall in terms of if he'll be under the thumb of the government. And it's informed by Winter Soldier because of that, because he worked for the government unquestioningly and then realized all this shit and they tried to kill him for it. Like they're most of that film is them on the run and
Yeah.
being hunted down because they're witnesses. So
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's interesting the way you said it that his character is remains static throughout most of the MCU is like it's so true, and it reminded me of what I said in my Superman video about James Gunn's Superman, where it's just like one thing I said in that is that like one of the most interesting ways to explore Superman is by making him a static character, and you make the world challenge his goodness, but he remains good
yeah,
throughout. And it's kind of similar with Captain America. I mean, they're based on the same idea of like the American way, the fighting the good fight, helping everyone, and being
yeah.
like the goody two shoes person. Um, but it's interesting that it's basically done the same thing for both of them. And I mean, I do really like
Yeah,
that in terms of
well,
Captain America
they're
too.
they're very similar characters.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that like the aura that Steve Rogers, like him showing up in the train station in Infinity War, that scene feels like Superman showing up. It's just amazing. It's an
Yeah.
amazing like character introduction, but they're both characters who are principle oriented and don't often have arcs to their characters. I mean, a lot of superheroes are like that, but these films need to change characters across films and did a pretty decent job of that early on. And that's the thing about this film. This was still early MCU enough that they still had a pretty solid handle on the world building and
Hmm.
things worked pretty well film to film. It was only a couple years after this that things started falling off the fucking rails. So
Yeah, I mean, I'd say until
I
Infinity War, they had a pretty good idea, and then it was like Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel were the two films between Infinity War and Endgame, and it was just like, what are we even doing?
the
Those two
most
films are
fine,
just like,
plain,
well, not even
okay.
that, but like the
Just
world
yeah.
building in those films is like awful.
Yeah,
They don't
The
understand the
Sokovia
MCU at
Accords
all.
are that I do like that both Clint and Scott are like on probation. They have like ankle
Yeah, yeah.
monitors and they're like put on house arrest. Like that was something where I'm like, okay, that they're bringing up the Sokovia
Yeah,
Accords. Both
it's
those guys are
fine
like
how
on
it's done in
well,
Ant-Man and the Wasp
yeah,
for the most. Not fully. I have many issues with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I have a full
yeah.
hour-long video about my issues in that film. But I I don't like the way that it fully addresses the Sokovia Accords as this like big joke and everything. It's it's the Ant-Man films. They treat everything as a joke, which is
Yeah.
not a good thing, but it is a thing they do.
Um, it's funny that's so that and that was what I was mentioning at the beginning is like I do looking back at this movie because this is 10 years after technically, this is 2026. Movie came out in 2016.
Yeah,
Looking
I
back,
remember I watched it opening
Jesus.
night on
But
in theaters. It was awesome. I was
yeah,
so
I
invested. The marketing for this film was amazing.
yeah, well, I remember the whole like Team Cap or like Team
Yeah,
Tony thing of like it's kind of bullshit, but like I, it was it's just back when there was hype for this shit,
yeah.
man. Like oh my God. I watching this movie today, it's just feels like just watching a thriller with pretty decent characterization and really solid pacing. But wider MCU wise, it's kind of problematic and it doesn't hit as hard like I was mentioning. I think even just one or two character deaths would have made this movie
Hmm.
stand out more. There would have been more of a sense of loss.
Yeah,
And I mean, credit to Infinity War for, at least
committing
but
to it.
that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
Loki, Heimdall this stayed dead.
yeah,
He's killed he didn't
yeah,
come back, which
yeah.
is
He
nice.
shows up in Valhalla in the end of Love and Thunder, but yeah.
Okay, well, okay, cool.
But it's Valhalla.
I,
It's like it's literally
yeah,
heaven. He's still dead. I'm
yeah.
just saying he shows
I,
up in Love and
I
Thunder.
love how I love how I said that, and I knew that he would. I was just like, he probably shows up in Thor. I'm like, I'm never
Yeah,
gonna.
he
I'm
does.
like,
It's
he probably does just
when
have a
Jane
fucking
Foster
cameo.
dies, she
For
shows
that's
up
like
in Valhalla and she's greeted by Heimdall. Yeah.
Christ's sake, it's literally like a Force Ghost. That's what that shit is. But yeah, at least they're dead. I'm so tired of characters coming back from the dead because Loki gets fucking
Bringing back
strangled.
Heimdall
Like
would
just
be so funny though, because like of all the characters, Heimdall is like one of the least significant. Bringing him back is just like
yeah.
a failure of committing to something that is like very funny to me. I don't know.
They'd probably recast him too because they think that like
Idris
Idris is
Elba's
too
too
old or they couldn't get him or
he's
something.
too
Jesus,
expensive for a character like Heimdall. I mean, honestly,
I
he's too good to play Heimdall. To be fair, I mean, there's the whole
there's so many. Carl
Carl.
Urban was
I was gonna
also
say Carl
wasted.
Urban is in fucking
Jesus,
Ragnarok. It's like, what are we doing here?
wasting good actors who could play potentially more interesting
Yeah.
characters. So,
I mean, fucking
um,
Christopher Eccleston
but
plays Malekith, the villain for Thor: The
yeah,
Dark World. Is so funny.
not the not the most memorable of villains.
No,
Or
exactly. Like
performances,
he's an
for Christ's
amazing
sake.
actor, and he's like relegated to the villain from the movie that nobody remembers. It's so funny.
Yeah, the MCU's casting's been weird, but yeah, I'd recommend this film. This was still back like I was mentioning, just early MCU. These films were still pretty solid. Is this film flawed? Yeah. Is it as good as the Avengers? I don't
No,
think so.
no.
I do think the Avengers has a far more solid films with characterization and especially with plotting.
Yeah, the first
The plot
Avengers
is
film for
far more
me is almost perfect. Like we talk about perfect films,
it's
the first Avengers for me, the 2012 Avengers, is honestly like up there. I genuinely think that
there's a
film is like almost flawless.
there's a very good reason why the MCU is still clinging to these big like Avengers huge hype and huge cast. It's because of the success of the first Avengers, and it
Yeah.
really had never been done before. There hadn't been anything like that with big blockbuster films. Everyone's doing it now. But it was all that first Avengers movie that did that and started it. So yeah, this film is definitely the in between, far more flawed plotting, and I would say maybe too many characters to handle, at least with what the plot's going
Yeah.
for. But it's still a pretty solid action thriller. But low key, like I was mentioning, Winter Soldier. That's my favorite MCU movie because I
Yeah.
think it's just a better plotting, better action thriller. So
Yeah. I think the Winter Soldier is really good as well. But yeah, I would recommend Captain America: Civil War. I think it
you
is a
thought
pretty
you
good movie.
thought you weren't. You were on the like the. I
Yeah,
think the ending fight was.
when I recommended it for us to talk about it, I was like, I'm probably not gonna like it, but I did. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was just like so refreshing to watch an MCU film. Like, wait, this is like an actual film, because I was expecting to dislike it just based off memory and years of debating this film on the internet. But it's just like such an entertaining film that has like a lot of really cool character stuff. Like the character work is really solid. Except for like Scott Lang, I think it's completely out of character for him to even be involved in this. But they needed him for his powers because they needed something different other than
Yeah.
just like people who have no powers and just have like like a shield or a suit or anything, because they needed something a little more creative for that airport fight scene.
They have the line about it being like a criminal already, but it's like, come on,
No.
Scott, you were trying to go straight. I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's Captain
And he
America who needs
says,
his help,
"What
right? But
else
like,
is new?" It's
still,
like, no, he would never say that. What are you talking about?
yeah, I'm like, that's the thing is it's supposed to be was like, but it's Captain America who needs his help. Like, you're gonna help Captain America. I'm like, I don't know, man. He straight up tells him, of like, if you are with us, you're a criminal. I'm just like, dude, you got a daughter. You're
Yeah.
trying to go
And he doesn't
straight. It's
even
like,
know fully what he's doing. Like, something about psycho assassins is like,
no.
if you do this, we're the outside of the law. It's like, what? So you don't even know that we're gonna fight. That we're gonna fight Iron Man. He learns that on the spot. It's like, come on, Scott. Like, it's so out of character for him after his arc in Ant-Man,
I
which is honestly one of the best parts of that film was Scott's arc. But
Yeah, there's there's precious little Scott in this film.
well,
He's
it's like I said,
very
he's there
relegated
as
to
a
the
prop
sidelines.
just
So
for like the toy fight scene.
well, well, so is Spider-Man because
Yeah.
this movie. That's the I remember when it was announced that Spider-Man was going to be in the MCU
Yeah, I mean, he
because
shows up at the
forever
end
that
of
was
that
like that
trailer,
was
like the on the roofs. That's like stuck in my head because I remember when that trailer
yeah.
released. I watched that moment so many times.
It was like, oh my God. I was curious about how Tom Holland was going to play the character, and I remember when everyone was like, oh my God, he's actually going to be played by someone who's like 19 rather than someone who's 27. So
Yeah,
I
a
it's
teenager that looks and talks like a teenager, and he did that.
yeah,
It's so funny
I
though. I always laugh because in
he's
this film he says the responsibility line like differently, but he says it like
yeah,
when bad things
it's
happen and you can do
more
something about it and you don't do it, then it's your fault. Uh,
it's
it's just like,
I
yeah,
think
that's the
that's even
responsibility
more
line.
cringe than TASM. I think it's even more beating around the bush of with great and they just throw it all away in the third
Well,
movie.
it's
They
just
just
funny because
fucking
he
say it
he
out loud. I'm
learns
like,
that
God damn
exact
it.
lesson in every one of his films. Like we
Yeah,
could talk about the Spider-Man films at some point
we
too, but it's so
we've
funny because
mentioned
he
that
goes to
over
the
and
same
over that they
arc
all
in
yeah.
all of his
Same arc.
films.
Every film is an origin. It's literally a trilogy of origin
Yeah.
stories. It's so annoying.
At the very least, people have said that the next film is actually gonna be Spider-Man, already having learned his life. Because there's no way around it at this point. Aunt May literally says the line. So by this point, surely we're done with that.
I just want, oh my God, Spider-Man in the MCU. Irritating.
Yeah, me too.
I honestly prefer Into the Spider-Verse movies, but we'll probably get to those one day. So
Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's Civil War.
Civil War. That was a long discussion, 15 minutes. Yeah. All right, Evan, it's your turn to recommend something.
Yes, it is. I have one that I have learned of recently and
Mm.
am very curious to check out. This is a Brazilian film
Mm.
starring Wagner Moura, which is the director of Bacurau. It's in theaters
No,
right
no, no, no.
now,
Wagner
and
Moura is an actor. The director of Bacurau is Kleber Mendonça Filho.
yeah, well, he's the star of
Yeah.
it. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it is The Secret Agent. That
Yeah, I already
I
watched
presume that's
it.
in theater.
Yeah.
So you've already seen it then.
Yes, yeah. It's available on digital
Oh,
already, so yeah, I watched it.
okay.
I watched it. Yeah,
I
it was in theaters for. I think it still is in theaters in Brazil. I might just go out and watch it again. But yeah, I've
All
seen the
right.
film
Yeah,
already.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not. And I'm like, it's funny actually. I'm behind. I didn't look into the Oscars at all.
Hmm.
I just didn't really care all that
Yeah.
because I
I
I
mean, yeah,
saw
I sent you a
the
list
actress who
with all
plays
the all the films nominated. I've watched like I think over 50% at this point. Yeah, 53% of the movies nominated for
yeah.
the Oscars I've watched.
I was just so indifferent this year. I don't even. I expected a lot of the nominees, but this was on here, so I loved Bacurau, and I just
Yeah.
I love Wagner Moura, so I that seems like a fucking
Yeah,
double
I mean
whammy to me. So
he
I'm
plays the wolf in Puss in Boots too, which I think is awesome.
yeah. Oh my God, that is an amazing perform. I straight up need to see Narcos just because of
Just because
him.
of him.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, I'm excited. I'm gonna rewatch it then. It's a really really cool film. I gonna have some interesting stuff to talk about because it's inspired by Kleber Mendonça Filho making a documentary a few years earlier. So I might just watch that documentary to talk about it. There's yeah, some interesting stuff about this. But yeah, really really cool film, and I'm excited for you to watch it. More Brazilian movies, yes. This time I wasn't the one recommending it. Okay, so you cannot say I'm biased or anything.
yes, indeed. I'm with it. So
Yeah.
okay.
All right then, folks. So thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week for the
Oh,
Secret Agent.
well, yeah, potential like and subscribe button. But another thing I want to just throw out there, but random recommendation because we haven't like made it like a formula or whatever. But The Pit, The Pit is amazing. There's a season airing right now. It's probably I think it's like goes to like April or May. Um, they're 15 episode seasons, and each season is like one shift in the emergency department in Pittsburgh, and you know medical procedural shows, but not like The Pit. It's for one, it's like TVMA, and like they can swear and have really gory material, which like wouldn't be in network television,
Mm.
and the the characterization is so good. I think I described it to you like it feels like part of the cast of Slow Horses meets part of the cast of Top Gun Maverick in
Yeah.
like a medical context somehow. And it sounds insane, but it works so well and it is so goddamn well paced and it is the best paced and most engaging show that I've seen since Better Call Saul. I cannot recommend The Pit enough. So that that is a random recommendation. If you've not seen The Pit, you should start watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do need to watch it as well. I've only heard good things. But yeah, you reminded me. Like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music or any other place with um for a podcast, you can follow us. And get the episodes early. If you become a member or Patreon, a channel YouTube channel member or patron on Patreon, you can also get the episodes early plus videos early and some extra stuff from me. Subscribe to Evan. His Slow Horses season 5 video
I'm
is
gonna
coming
get back
out.
to the editing.
Yeah.
My God, I've been. I was it's so funny. The Pit was actually a huge break from it. Like it'd been so long since I just sat down and like watched TV like consecutively like that.
Yeah.
But it was good for me to take a break. But I'm gonna wrap it up here pretty soon though. I'm in the final-ish stages. I said that I wanted to get it done by the end of February, like February, March-ish. It should be wrapping up here. It's
Yeah.
gonna be worth the wait though. So.
It is. And that's it then, folks. Next week, Secret Agent. If you can watch it in theaters, you should support Brazilian cinema. It is in a lot of in theaters in a lot of places in America. But also I think it's all already available on digital, so you can also buy it on digital if you can go to theaters. So yes, support this film if you can, and we'll catch you next week.
Catch you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.